Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rwanda Day once again. My name is Sandrine Umutoni. I'll be emceeing the first panel. And the topic for our first panel today is the Youth Employment Challenge in Rwanda and Building Networks for Success. Now I'm going to invite to the stage the panelist and the moderator for this session. Now the moderator will be the Ministry of Education Permanent Secretary, P.S. Sharon Haba. And our panelist will be Yves Iradukunda, Jean Bosco Nzeimana, Noela Bigirimana, and Tuma Bassa. And for those of you who require translation, please note that the channel 8 is for English and channel 1 is for Kinyarwanda. Once again, welcome to the first panel, and I'll now hand over to our moderator for the first session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine, for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. This morning we'll be talking about youth employment challenges in Rwanda and building networks for success. This panel will be specifically looking at the role of youth, where, as some of you may know, 50% of Rwanda's population is comprised of the youth. And that is a very big number, which needs to be translated into concrete activities that can contribute to the country's development. There are lots of opportunities, there are lots of challenges, and this is the opportunity to discuss the challenges, but most importantly, the opportunities and the role that the youth in this room and others that may be following from different parts of the world can play. Here with me, several people with different background. There are people on this panel that relate to the background that many of you have. There are people that are about 20 years old, meaning that in 1994, at the time of the genocide, they were babies, or they were born just about soon after the genocide, but they are making a difference, and they'll have a story to tell. On the panel, we also have somebody that represents another category of people that have been educated in Rwanda, have had an opportunity to be educated elsewhere. They have come back home to make a difference in very unique ways. We also have people that were born outside Rwanda, have lived outside Rwanda all their lives, but have maintained a strong bond with their country. And they also have a story to tell, and I'm sure they relate to many of you in the room. So we have a mix of everything. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in this room, I want us to spend the first part of this panel just doing a quick round of introductions. And in the first part, we will hear from the panel, and then we will come back to the audience. And I want to particularly encourage the youth in this room to interact, to ask questions, to make contribution as they find fit. So this is going to be a fun panel, as you'll come to see. And right now, I would like us to start with our first panelist, Yves Iradukunda. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Sharon, for the introduction. My name is Yves Iradukunda, and actually recently graduated from Oklahoma Christian University, and I was studying under a program called Presidential Scholarship Program. This is a program that was initiated by His Excellency President of Rwanda to help Rwandan students get an opportunity to get education in the top institutions here in the US. And the program is based on academic performance, where Rwandan students who perform well in the national exams get an opportunity to come and study at various universities here in the US. And I can see many of presidential scholars in the room. And so I'm one of the people who were given that opportunity as well. So I did mathematics and computer science and graduated last year in 2013. And after that, I went back home, and now I'm working at Bridge to Rwanda as a career development associate. My focus is on helping students to understand what does it take to not only get a good education, but what does it take to get into the workspace through career guidance, career counseling. Bridge to Rwanda, if I may explain a bit more on what we do, it's a gap year program that started to bust the bottlenecks in getting Rwandan students into universities in the US. So through the gap year, they receive English courses and preparation that allows them to win scholarships here in the US in various top leading institutions. I guess in addition to that, been involved in many different youth programs, always trying to find out what is the youth, what is our role as the youth in contributing to development of our country. And so some of the programs we did are gathering young people here in the US. We did entrepreneurship summits in Oklahoma, where we received Rwandan students from across the states to come together and sit and brainstorm about what is it going to be our contribution to the development of the country. And so I would say those are some of the things that I've been participating on, and I believe I will expand more on what we are doing right now in Rwanda and what has been our contribution.
Okay. Thank you, Eve. Noella, tell us a bit about yourself. Who's Noella? What does she do?
I do wonder that question every day, actually. I ask myself, who is Noella? No, so I'm Noella Bigirimana, and I may or may not be 25. And I know that Sharon mentioned that this is a young panel, and so it's a privilege to be here, and thank you for having me. For the past, so I attended high school in Rwanda. So I grew up in Rwanda, was in Rwanda until I finished high school. And after high school, I got the opportunity to come to the US and pursue my education. So I did my undergraduate here, graduated in 2012 from Cornell University. And for the past 2 years, I've been working as a project manager, working with a group called Team Heart. And I think we'll mention, I'll mention more about it later, but basically it is a Boston-based organization that provides heart care, cardiac care in Rwanda. And so, as you can tell, some of my interests include healthcare, includes kind of the role of health in the bigger picture of development. And so, and currently I'm pursuing a master's in health policy and management at Brandeis University. I'm also here with a group called Rwanda Core, and we'll have more time to talk about it. But those are some of the, I guess, common things. And I'm very excited to be here today, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Noella. Jean Bosco, who are you?
Yes, thank you very much. It's always tough when someone asks me who is Jean Bosco, because I play different types of games. So, but I'm going to start on my early life. Jean Bosco is a student at the University of Rwanda, College of Business and Economics. But apart from being a student, I'm also the founder and the CEO of Uhawana Limited. It is a company which is specialized in renewable energy and waste management. What we do is the collection of waste. After collecting waste, we sort them and make sure we produce affordable and environmentally friendly products in terms of biogas, biofertilizer, and biomass, because we've seen that we have to grow homemade solutions to the energy crisis in Rwanda and to expand further in Africa and all around the globe. Yeah, that is Jean Bosco.
Good. Tuma,
Yes.
tell us a bit more about yourself.
My name is Tumaini Basani Nyenzi, and I'm known to most people as Tuma Basa. I'm a proud member of the Rwandan diaspora. Was born in Zaire, which is now called Democratic Republic of Congo. But I grew up here in the US and also in Zimbabwe during my adolescence, then back to the US. I'm currently the Vice President of Music Programming at Revolt TV, which is the new music television station owned by Sean Puff Daddy Combs. And, but I've been very active in monitoring youth culture for many years. Before I worked at MTV and BET, and I went to school here. And it's our job to pay attention to youth. And Rwandan youth, because of social media, because of the internet, are now completely connected to the rest of the youth. So a lot of the concerns, the fears, the culture is kind of unifying because of this new generation of Rwandan youths who are more connected than the generation before. Oh, next.
Thank you. Let me just get a feeling of the people in the room. How many people consider themselves as youth? Youth? Very good. How many of you feel like they connect with Tuma at the end? Okay. How many feel like they connect more with Jean Bosco, the guy next to him? 20-year-old CEO? Yeah? Okay, I see some people that put up their hand for both. So we probably have some cross-cutting elements here. How many connect with Eve right here? Okay. And how many connect with Noella? Okay, I see more of the women's hands. Actually, I don't see a man that connects with Noella. Is it because she did medicine or because she's, okay, I see somebody there. Good. Okay. One question to the panel.
Yes.
You see, there are people that connect with you. So they want to hear your story. Why do you do what you do? What inspires you? Fine, you're young, you have a lot of energy. But is that all? We all have some energy. What drives you? What's your passion? What is it? Tell us. And anybody can start. Noella, you want to start?
Sure. That is one tough question to define, but I would say, so the question was kind of what drives me. The short version of the answer would be that it's just understanding, knowing about a situation, knowing about challenges, and understanding that you've been given a privilege. You know, there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. I think what drives me is my passion for kind of the health sector, the health system, which I think it's the sector I'm most familiar with because my parents are both health professionals. But from early on, understanding that no matter where you are, no matter where you are in training, no matter what your background is, you can have whatever, even if it's a smaller contribution, you can have it and make it. So I'm passionate about the health sector, but beyond that, I'm not just passionate about the health sector everywhere. I'm really passionate about sort of the health system that we have in Rwanda and the role that health plays for the people of Rwanda. So most of my experience, most of my background really ties into Rwanda, whether it's bringing back the skills, whether it is just talking to others from Rwanda, people that like Rwanda, coming to conventions like this. This kind of fuels my passion, understanding that there's a real opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah,
and
but
as,
Noella, let me interrupt a bit here.
yes.
Young, beautiful woman, had an opportunity to be educated at home and abroad, and you sound like you have this strong connection to home. We know there are people that are in this room, about your age, same background, but who want somebody to tell them something that can inform a decision about, say, family. How can somebody with a background like yours, that is at that decision point, get married, have kids, career, link with home, link with the US and other places? Can you speak to people like that here?
Yes, I can try and answer. It's a very important question. I think it is true that culturally, or even it's that understanding of you plan to have a family, right? In my case, I'm in the U.S., but I'm from Rwanda. My whole family is in Rwanda. Most of my family is in Rwanda, and I'd say one thing that I know. One thing that I know that keeps pulling me back, because there are two scenarios that this could have taken. There's sort of that, I would call it, in this case, a comfort zone, or just knowing that you can just do what you're doing and just keep going. If you're in school, you can just do school. If you want to get married, you can get married. But I think beyond that, just sort of deciding where you want to be career-wise, and I keep tying it back to the country because it's a big decision to kind of decide. I have not made decisions yet, but what I know is one of the best places to be a woman right now is in Rwanda. I'm very proud every time I go back. It feels not only that it's home, but one of many reasons is that just that environment that encourages you. You're a young lady, but that's not all you are. That's not your identity. There's more to it. There's your role in society in general. What is it? Sort of defining it, finding what that is,
So the people that connected with Noella, she just said that one of the best places to be a woman is in Rwanda. And I would add that the best place to be a woman is in Rwanda. How many people connect with that? Oh, I'm happy to see the guys' hands go up this time. Okay, let's just get very quickly to Tuma.
Yes.
Rwanda has been ranked in very high places. The 2014 Doing Business report listed Rwanda as the best global reformer. The World Economic Forum listed Rwanda as the most competitive place to do business in East Africa, and many others.
Yeah.
What does that make you feel as a Rwandan that has been raised in all other places except Rwanda? How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel proud.
Okay.
Yeah, no, pride, of course, but also makes me curious to see what opportunities may exist that could be capitalized in Rwanda, and what tools exist to help, and what advantages someone like myself who lives here and who spent a lot of time here it prompts due diligence, like if I go there, what will the risks be, what will the rewards be, challenges, because even if it's the top performer in Africa, there's still going to be a lot of challenges, and if those unique challenges are something that a person like myself, can overcome. Yeah, so pride and curiosity, that's the answer.
Let me ask Jean Bosco to pick up on this, because 20 years old, CEO in renewable energy, you need energy to invest in industry and other things. What do these numbers mean to you? What does this ranking mean to you as a young man? Tell us, as a CEO.
Okay, thank you very much. It's of course a very big problem because, you know, investing in that serious, risky business of waste management, renewable energy, and actually for us, because we are transforming waste to energy, it's something ridiculous. Because, you know, the waste that we are treating, most of the people call them, yeah, they are from cow, and that's why you could call them bullshits, but you are transforming those bullshits into cash. So it's a ridiculous thing. But anyway, we are trying to crave for solutions. So, of course, there is a story which inspired me behind that to involve in that risky business. What motivated me the most is the fact that I was born and raised in a village where we didn't have access to energy. For example, for myself, I've seen and enjoyed the light when I attended my high school somewhere in the city. So, but when I was in my village, I was just using, you know, those non-environmental methods like charcoal and firewood. So I've seen how my people were struggling to find a way to heat their kitchen, and I said, maybe I can do something. Before, I thought to do it in a social way, but finally I've seen how I can make it business. You know, it was very difficult before, but it's always pressing. And when you press, that's when you get to the path you wish to pass through. It was very difficult, you know, as I have mentioned before. But what I did for the first time is to search what I can do in the waste that was available in my village. I said, because this is like, you know, zero input cost, and I can maybe transform this input into some output which can generate money. That's what I did, and finally I succeeded. Of course, with few resources that we have, we've made an impact, because right now I'm employed myself, and I have other 20 people who depend on me. They're getting monthly living, and I'm getting something to eat, and yeah,
How many
I'm
people
getting
do you
school fees
employ?
for myself. Hello?
How many people do you employ?
Yeah, 20 people.
20. What's this thing about 20?
Yeah, 20 people.
So 20 years old, employs 20 people. Interesting. You're probably feeding 20 families or more. Very good. We'll be coming to the audience in a few minutes, but I just wanted to check if young man got the opportunity to get a scholarship in one of the best institutions in the US. You have a life here, you have a life back home. What is it that, what is your passion based on? What is it that creates that bond, that pushes you to work hours after hours? What is it?
Well, it's a very good question. I would say it really stems into a simple question I asked myself along the way. After 2 years, the presidential scholarship program designed in a way, after 2 years, you get to go back home and do an internship and explore what you are studying in terms of how it's going to contribute. So going back in Rwanda after 2 years, after spending 2 years here in the US, you see a lot of changes. You know, you all know, for those who get a chance to go back in Rwanda every once in a while, even if it's just 2 weeks or 1 month, a lot is changing. It's just tremendous, and it's exciting. And so when I saw that, personally, I was touched. And I asked myself, I'm getting a good education, yes, it's a first step, but how is this going to help me personally to contribute? So as soon as I asked myself that question, I think that's where it all started, finding out what is it exactly I'm going to do. And I end up doing in the last 3 years. So my passion really became creating opportunities for young people, not only to participate and to be involved, but also to be able to open more doors beyond their comfort zone. And so in the summer of 2011, I was participating in a project to drill water wells. 3 of us, young Rwandans, at the time we were 20, we were building water wells. And during a time of 2 months, we completed 3 water wells, providing clean water to about 2,000 people in rural Rwandan region. So coming back to the US, thank you. And this is a project that had been initiated by presidential scholars, and I was just participating in it. But I realized that there is the potential in what, as a young person, as young people, we can do. And coming back to the US after that summer, I realized that the numbers were saying we have beyond 500 students here in the US. In addition to that, we have a bigger diaspora community, families, and different young professionals and other working professionals who are from Rwanda. So I knew that what if we could bring all of that network, all that community together, what could happen? There is not a single project that we cannot be able to implement in Rwanda. So I started by that, and we organized events at Oklahoma Christian University, trying to spark that conversation and challenge ourselves. What is it going to be our contribution? And so that's really where I based my, really it's where it started, because it led to what I'm doing today. Right after graduation, I realized that it was right for me to go back home, because as you spend more time here in the US, you lose connection, you lose the touch with what's happening in Rwanda. And so I decided I would go back right after graduation, so that the network that we have created here in the US can also contribute to the network of what's happening in Rwanda. And it's really bridging that gap of a vibrant community that is here in the US, and basing on the students and the youth, and trying to relate to that with what's happening in Rwanda. And so in relation to what I do as a career development associate, my focus is on creating opportunities, again, for education and also employment. I think linking that to the topic of this panel is we find that unemployment is a big challenge. And we get more graduates than jobs that are being created every year. So in fact, actually, before I traveled here, I met some people, and I was telling them that we're going to be talking about career opportunities, promoting working in Rwanda for the people who are living in the diaspora. And one of the comments I got was that, why do you want the people to come from the diaspora and come to work in Rwanda when we have even people who do not have jobs in Rwanda? And that was very controversial, because in the last year, I've been kind of doing a research, trying to understand what does it mean for someone to actually graduate from the diaspora and come and work in Rwanda. So 2 points that I wanted to share with you for what I believe in regards to that. The Rwandan young people who are growing from education and young professionals are finding it hard to get into the workplace, be it in the public sector, private sector, or NGOs. And one of the biggest reasons is because of the lack of experience. Now, basically, you are asked to have experience before you can get an experience, before you can get an opportunity to gain that experience. So most of the job offers you find out there, they require to have at least 2 years of work experience. So how do you, that's a challenge. How do you bypass that challenge and secure yourself a job after getting a good education? So one point is, you've got to value the internship opportunities that you can get from when you are a student in college and right after graduation, because that's your entry point to the professional network, being able to get your first foot into different companies and institutions. So that's one point. And I really want to challenge the youth or the students who are in the room. That's something that you need to value. But at the same time, I really want to invite the people who are representing companies in the private sector or other institutions, NGO or public sector. You've got to give a chance to the young people to actually have that opportunity to get practical experience through their education. So what I found in Rwanda, companies do not have particular professional training programs. Like here in the US, where companies have the luxury to have managerial training programs or well-organized internship programs. Most companies do not have that in Rwanda. But it's really the challenge when it comes to now bridging that gap and making sure that the youth are getting employment. I have seen that those who are able to secure internships have a better chance when it comes to securing a job as well. For the work I do, I've been able to place, in the last 6 months, I've been able to place about 13 people into jobs in Rwanda. These are people who came to study here abroad, came back to Rwanda, and were looking for opportunities to work. And we facilitated 13 of them to get jobs. We are not talking about any jobs. In Rwanda, we have the Big Four, PwC, Deloitte, and KPMG, and Ernst & Young. 2 of them got opportunities to go work there. They are fresh graduates. They did not have work experience. So after analyzing and visiting with many different companies, what I realized is that you've got to use a network to be able to get these opportunities when it comes to employment. One other thing I wanted to share when it comes to that employment opportunities. In the last few weeks, I was fortunate to work with a team from Job in Rwanda, where they facilitate to publicize jobs and openings that are available both in public, private sector, and NGOs. So what you find out is that some people are not using that opportunity to share their expertise, their contacts in the network. But this is a place where many companies are looking to hire, looking to see what are the talents that we have available right now. What is the Rwandan talent that we have available? So that's one thing that I also wanted to mention that is available when it comes to tackling these challenges.
Okay, thank you, Eve. Let me come back to the audience a bit. Just so we understand what the ground is like in Rwanda. For those of you that may not follow very closely, we have a vision that we call 2020, so until 2020. We have an economic development and poverty reduction strategy. That strategy aims at creating 200,000 jobs every year until 2020. So by 2020, we need to have 3.2 million jobs. We are currently at about 1.4 million. But we also know that the opportunities are there, and there are challenges as well. But we know that as a country, we have to be self-reliant. We have to play our part in our own future, but also the future of our country. So the young people on the panel are doing that in different ways. But in the room, I'm sure there are people that are also doing different things, that have tried to do some things, that are thinking about doing some things, but they have several questions on their mind. They're looking for an entry point, but they also have some answers based on their experience, based on some innovation that they know that works elsewhere. And I want to open the floor now for discussion and just hear from you. If you have any question to ask the people on the panel, experience to share, this is the time. People shy to be the first to ask or to comment? Where are the students? I'm told there's a number of students here. Yes, I see the lady in a blue dress on the third row over there. Please introduce yourself, where you're from and what you do. And then ask your question or make your comment.
Thank you, Shalom. I really want to, I'm called Grace Mirinda. I'm a woman entrepreneur from Rwanda. I'm in the freight forwarding business. I'm the chairperson of the Rwanda P3 Business Alumni Association, and it was established in Oklahoma under the Institute of Economic Empowerment of Women. I happened to meet one of the presenters, and I was so much impressed, and I really want everybody, every Rwandese here, to really give these people a big clap, because when you find when they're introducing ERI to us when we're in Oklahoma for a Women Economic Empowerment Summit, I told them that we've seen students come to study in the US and never come back. And it was really bad because the knowledge they acquired here was not returning to us. So I was so much impressed when these students are trying to come back home. That's really why I say, let's give them a big clap, and really thank you so much for that courage. As women entrepreneurs in Rwanda, I'm the board member of the Rwanda Chamber of Women Entrepreneurs under the Private Sector Federation. I really encourage you to come to us. We shall find a way to find how these young people come and join us to see the way forward for our nation. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Grace. Anyone else? Did I see a hand somewhere there in the back?
Okay. Hi, my name is Emily Conrad. I am from the United States. And one of the things that I'm really interested to know, particularly about youth employment in Rwanda, whenever I look at just employment sectors, I see that a lot of the banking and a lot of communications, transport, etc., the jobs are being filled by non-Rwandese. I'm not sure if they're part of the Rwandan diaspora, but a lot are from Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Burundi. And I just wanted to know, how can, to the panelists, just an open question, what sort of education measures can be taken, or what sort of policy measures can be taken in order to ensure that this growing youth population can take on these more qualified positions in these labor sectors?
Thank you, Emily. Does anyone on the panel want to answer that? I will comment myself, but just in case somebody wants to say something. Okay, Yves?
Well, that's a very good question. We've seen a number of expat community growing, not only in Rwanda, across Africa in different countries. And sometimes the reason really goes back to we get opportunities to come and study abroad and get exposed to not only the best education, but also the best experiences. In fact, some of the young professionals we were chatting before this panel are young Rwandans who are working in different sectors and getting a tremendous experience. But what happens is when we fail to link that into how can that experience, how can that expertise contribute back in Rwanda. And I won't talk in terms of like the policy level, but looking at how do we link the kind of network and expertise we have in the diaspora coming back and cover those gaps that we have, that we are having to have experts come in Rwanda to perform that. It's really the question I want to bounce back to the audience. You've been here in the diaspora, I believe many of you, and in different categories. Either you are a student getting an education, or young professional working, or established professional or business professionals here in the US. I really want to bounce this back to you because what Rwanda needs right now is your contribution. Our education system or the capacity building process is picking up, and wonders are happening in Rwanda. If you haven't been in a while, you need to come and visit and see yourself. But what I realize is that we've had this opportunity to come and get more. It's time we go back and fill those gaps. And so I think to answer your question is that it's really the right time to ask ourselves, those gaps, those positions that are having to be filled by experts, community growing, how do we tackle that? How do I realize I have an experience and expertise that is at the international level and actually make that step to come back home and contribute?
Thank you, Eve. Emily, just to add to what Eve said, I think you asked a policy question. Let me just say that the education policy in the past did not encourage a lot of hands-on training. And that is why now our focus is shifting more towards technical and vocational education. I think, Emily, you will agree with me that most of the jobs that you described are in this area. So we're shifting the focus to make sure that we train more engineers and other skills that are required so that gradually these jobs can be occupied by Rwandans. But there is the other side to it. I think it's also a good thing that Rwanda can actually attract our neighbors to come and work in the country. While we build those skills, I think it's a very good thing that we can bridge these gaps in the meantime. And perhaps I'll use this opportunity to encourage people in the room that are thinking of doing something in Rwanda. Let me invite you to come and invest in the area of technical and vocational education and training, and you'll get it right. Thank you. Can we get somebody else? Yes? There's a gentleman here at the front.
Thank you very much. My name is Steve Kamanzi. I live in Rwanda and I'm just here in the USA for vacation. I come from the NGO world, and I just believe that when we talk of youth employment, we have to think of public-private partnership. And if I can complement of what has been said by Eve, I think Eve, we have met. I'm from Akazikanoze EDC. I've met Shaba Aaron at the Ministry for Education, and we are implementing a project called Akazikanoze. It's a youth livelihood project. We are trying to improve youth livelihood through the provision of employability skills and linking the youth to employment through internship, job placement, because one of the challenges actually is we have youth, we have jobs, but again, there is need to really connect these youth to the right jobs. One of the things that we are doing is that in Rwanda there is a challenge of, Haba mentioned the vocational skills that are being provided to youth, but there is another challenge of soft skills, part of employability skills that if I can mention that. And that's what our project is trying to address. So we are both providing both technical skills to youth and soft skills to youth in collaboration with the Workforce Development Authority. And so far we have served around 18,000 who have been able to go through our program. And with 18,000 youth, we have actually connected half of them, 50% of those youth have been connected to employment. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there is no job in Rwanda. We have jobs, but again, there is need to link these youth who are being trained to the right jobs. And we are also looking at the youth actually who are out of schools, because this is the big, with the government policy and strategies to have all Rwandans to have access to education. There is the 9 years basic education that have been put in place. There is the 12 years basic education that has been put in place. But again, when you look at when you look at the number of youth who did not have access to education, there are still many, and they require really vocational skills, and that's what we have been doing. So provide some sort of vocational skills to youth, both soft skills and hard skills, and then connect them to employment. And I would say that adding to what Eve has said, 13 or 30 youths who have been connected to jobs, we have plenty of organizations that are doing that in support and in collaboration with the government of Rwanda. So I think when you talk of 200,000 jobs as a target in 2020, for me, I just see it as something that is attainable, because the government is working close collaboration with the private sector and the civil society organization to be able to attain that. And that's what we are also contributing to. So thank you very much for just coming to this forum to really address the youth employment, because it's a huge topic in Rwanda, and this is something that really we need to address. As we address it, we'll speed up the development of Rwanda in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Sorry?
I was going to add something to his comment.
Just comment, and then I'll get back to the gentleman on the third row here. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to talk about NGOs creating jobs, and really challenge the NGOs that are based in the US that are going and working with the government of Rwanda to really look at that and make it a goal. I mentioned Team Heart as an organization based in the US, and they've been working with the Ministry of Health for the past 7 to 8 years, and now there's a huge project of building the first cardiac care center. I mentioned them because the model that they came in with was that it was not just health-centered or not just the sector you're in, just kind of looking around. And so one of our country representatives is a young man. He's doing his MBA, and he represents such a large international organization, because so organizations from here, as you look to, if you're based here or based outside Rwanda and looking for opportunity, as you connect with the government, connect to the private sector, make it a goal to sort of create these opportunities. The youth is there, they're qualified, they're getting ready. Open up those doors, and I think we'll both, as a collaborative partnership, accomplish what the government has set up to do.
Thank you, Noella. So I think the point from what Steve said and Noella is that there are networks. There are local networks, there are networks between the US and other places and Rwanda. There are networks among ourselves that we can build on to actually make a difference. But let's hear from the gentleman here on the third row.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Dr. Ivan Twagirashema. I'm a board member of Private Sector Federation in Rwanda, and I'm chairing the Chamber of Industry. So 7 years ago, I was living in the diaspora. Now I spent 7 years in Rwanda. When I talk about industry, it means energy sector, it means manufacturing, mining, construction, and printing. Every year I'm receiving a lot of requests from the youth living in the diaspora because they wish to come back to Rwanda and work there. But the main challenge we are facing there is that people don't take time to prepare that. And students living here, they start thinking about coming back to Rwanda when they are graduating. It has to be prepared. Today we have a lot of platforms where normally you can let people know what you are doing and get prepared 2-3 years before you graduate. So most of the confusion I'm seeing coming, people think that there are a job waiting for them the time they are graduating. It has to be prepared. And let's hope that students who are still at school, they will take the opportunity of this Rwanda Day to let people know what they are doing and get prepared for the coming 2-3 years ahead. Thank you so much.
Ivan, while you still have the microphone, tell us how you prepared for that. Because I remember in the first Rwanda Day
in Chicago.
Yes, 6 years ago. You were on a panel like this,
Yes.
and you spoke to some people, and several of them approached you at the end. And a number of them have come home prepared. What did you do to prepare? I think there are people in the room that want to know what preparing means.
I'm happy that Eve was one of the people who asked me how I did. And today we are working together in Rwanda because he took enough time to prepare for that. So I was living in France. I was a senior professor at the University of Science and Technology. But I started preparing my way back to Rwanda 4 years before. So I started sending some articles in the newspaper in Rwanda, talking about what I was doing. And the time I had to go back, most of the people in Rwanda knew my name, even without knowing the face. So that was very important, and that's how I succeeded going back. So you need to have the heart of going back. You need to think about your country, not in terms of making a lot of money, but in terms of getting back what you are doing for your nation. So today I'm happy 7 years after that, and I will no longer think about coming back in the diaspora because you are better living home. Even if you are not making a lot of money, even if you think that people living in the diaspora have more comfort than us, but let me tell you, you will never be better than in your homeland. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. You need to have the heart. Who wants to speak about having the heart? Yes, there is a lady right behind Ivan. Just introduce yourself. Yes, and then we'll get the gentleman after that. Yes.
Hi, my name is Sarah Buchanan, and I run an organization called Kula Project, and we are helping coffee farmers scale their production to a sustainable level in the northern province. My question for all the panelists would be, how can we, as an American NGO, best engage the youth in the agricultural sectors in a country that is so dependent on the agriculture?
Thank you.
I can take that.
You want to take that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, let's take that, and then we'll come back to the gentleman. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, that's certainly one of the things that has been said over and over again, and that is being addressed. And so I mentioned, and I'm wearing the pin because it's the big launch today, I mentioned Rwanda Core because a lot of the youth here, or a lot of the Rwandans here, looking around the room, I know people are doing amazing things. You know, these are our stories, but anyone in the audience, I think, would be able to come and talk about what they're doing, and it would impress you. So looking around and sort of forming a platform is what Rwanda Co will be doing. It's a partnership platform that engages active citizens. And so this partnership platform will allow US organizations that are looking for opportunities, looking for a way to invest, a way to approach Rwanda, that platform of saying, hey, I'm looking for people with skills in agriculture. I'm looking for people with skills in education. So kind of have that meaning or common place. And that's one of the things that is being done and is being launched. So soon there's going to be a website, and we're hoping a lot of people are showing interest. Both people that want to, Rwandan people in the diaspora or elsewhere that want to have that impact, beyond that geographical boundary, saying we want to do something. We want to get plugged into a larger impact that's happening. And one of the things that they're doing is actually helping Team Heart with this, the hospital that is going to be built that I mentioned. So that's Rwanda Core is one of the platforms that can help you connect you with the people.
Thanks, Noella. Just before Eve comes in, at the back of this room, in the booth, there is some information that you can go away with. What's the entry point? And all I can say is that it's very smooth, it's very quick. So just pick up the contact in the booth, and they'll be able to guide you. Yes.
I just wanted to add a quick comment to your question. In terms of how does an NGO or NGOs in general become more effective, and specifically for agriculture, I believe this is one area that we really need to look into when it comes to looking at agriculture as one of the ways to improve our economy And I believe that having been there, you have already seen it. I think what I would say to be more efficient in bringing in the youth in terms of employment creation is actually partnering with the people in rural areas and actually helping them with some of the best farming practices. And I say that because I've seen many NGOs trying to start at the top level of theoretical approach to actually tackling different challenges, not just in agriculture. So, but I feel like since you're already in the north, the best approach would be to actually partner with the farmers and engage the youth into considering agriculture as one of the opportunity to employ themselves and make money. Yeah.
Thank you, Eve. Yes. The gentleman right behind Serafi, yes.
Thank you, moderator. My name is John Nyombaire. As you can see, I am not very young, but I try to keep my mind very young. So, thank you. Thank you. So, I just want to share. I'm retired. So I was young 50 years ago. And what I have to share to my friend from diaspora is this. Our president in July, on 2nd of July, met the youth in Rwanda. And he asked one question. He said, can you improve who you are? And he gave the answer. He said, you can't improve yourself by becoming someone else. So what I want to say is this. Those who are still in the diaspora are remaining over there, not taking risk to come to invest in Rwanda. I want to give them the way. Please take the risk. In Rwanda, you can make money, many money, as you are doing. In Kinyarwanda, we say, I'm sure you can translate. Ngo gusoma nabi biruta kwirigata. So, the moderator can explain what is exactly, but that is really what do you young men must do. Please improve what you learned here in the United States, come in Rwanda, and I don't know if some of them, I am retired from financial services. There is a lot to do in financial services. We can interact, and please take the risk and come in Rwanda and invest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Are you going to help with the translation?
No, I just want to add something.
Just hang on a second. Gusoma nabi biruta kwirigata. Who wants to help with the translation? Okay, I see somebody there. Yes, go ahead. Gusoma nabi biruta kwirigata. Who wants to help here with the translation? Okay, I will try. What John means by this, and John, please correct me if I'm wrong. When you have something to sip, gusoma, is that right? Okay, can somebody help? Sorry? The lady there wants to help. Please give her the microphone over there. Yes, go ahead.
A bad kiss is better than licking yourself.
Okay. Okay, so let me come back to John. Can you just elaborate on that a bit? Yes.
So I can speak better in Kinyarwanda, but I'm sorry. My English is only understood by those who speak Kinyarwanda.
Okay, go ahead.
So that means you young people, don't keep yourself. Don't embrace yourself. Please embrace others. Come and even you take this risk, you kiss. That is correct, but you can embrace also your business. Even if you commit some errors, that is better than staying here in the United States and maybe not developing yourself. Maybe you are developing yourself, but please, we need you to kiss other Rwandans.
Thank you very much, John. Now you know I didn't want to take the risk to translate. So the theme for this panel is Youth Employment Challenge in Rwanda, Building Networks for Success. So what John just described is those networks beyond yourself. What networks do you have to build? But I also want to comment, if I may, a little bit on the July meeting that John referred to, where the president said that you cannot improve yourself by becoming somebody else. The youth in this room, you have an opportunity to attend similar meetings to the one that John referred to. Every July, we organize a session for youth living abroad every summer, 2 to 3 weeks. You come and spend time embracing the culture, mingling with other people, and by the time you come back to whatever country you live in, you have established a very strong bond. So I want to use this opportunity, and thank you, John, for highlighting that, to invite those of you, start planning now for next summer, and we'll have the information out very soon. Yes, we had a lady here, yes? Go ahead.
There was one comment.
Okay, after the lady. Noella? After the lady.
Good morning. My name is Ani Ilangunda, and I live here in Atlanta. I just had a question for Tumabasa. I know he works with Revolt TV, MTV, BET as well. What opportunities are you bringing to youth in Rwanda in terms of media, art, and music?
Me personally?
Yes.
Thank you, Annie. Just before you come in, Tuma, let Noella comment a bit on what John said, and then you'll answer Annie's question. Yes.
Pardon?
Okay, go ahead. And then you'll come in and answer.
Okay, then I'll answer. Okay,
Yes.
okay. I'll need to think about it.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to add a comment on what John was saying. What I want to focus about is to get your hands dirty. That's my message for the youth who are studying here in the United States or abroad. Just get your hands dirty so that you can come back in Rwanda and do something. For example, I didn't study abroad, but I've seen that if I'm going, first of all, to crave for employment or to look for employment, it's going to be a huge challenge. I've just thought of doing something and employ others. So what I want to say is that people who are here in the United States are exposed to different opportunities. So the fact that you are exposed to different opportunities and that you can be connected to different organizations, researchers, you can just copy those examples and bring them to Rwanda. For myself, I've just tried to do something and then to make sure I show off. For example, I started to do something on my company last year, and when I started, it became something that I didn't know that can happen. And of course, I took advantage of opportunities that I was seeing in Rwanda and made something. I won different prizes, and I used to come here in USA to pick those prizes, and I take the money back to the country to do something. So I'm asking you guys to make sure that you don't leave any opportunity behind here in the United States. But if you get it, don't remain here, but come back in Rwanda and implement those solutions that you can see here in USA. That's my message.
Thank you, Jean Bosco. Tuma,
Yeah.
Annie is waiting for an answer.
Well, I just try to come up with a good answer, and I didn't come up with a good answer, but so I'll take your question more as a challenge. But within my job, right, or the jobs I've had, right, it's very ethnocentric in terms of opportunities, like with music videos, etc. Because the domestic American market it's very, they don't really care about what happens overseas. What's happened recently is YouTube is in Africa, including Rwanda. Nigeria probably has benefited the most, is people are developing fan bases more and more because they can put their music video on YouTube and anyone can see it, and it's becoming popular. So within my career, the first times I've actually had opportunities to help, this isn't Rwanda, by the way, this is just in Africa in general, and then I'll get to Rwanda. Wait. First, let me, personally, sharing information, presence, mentorship, connecting people. So I've been doing that throughout my career, whether it be FestPad in Rwanda, being on panels like this. I've gone to there, so that's outside of my job, right? So that part is important. And then that's so important. There's a guy here who talked about soft skills, that soft skills needed to be developed in Rwanda. And I think that's so important, especially you're talking about 50% of Rwanda's, 50% of the population is youth. That's a lot of people that need soft skills. That's a lot of people to mentor, right? Things like customer service, things like, soft skills for anyone who's wondering what soft skills are. Things like customer service, things like how to follow up on an opportunity without pissing someone off, or just social grace, things like that. Those are very important in business, in creating partnerships, in being respected by people in other countries or people in other industries. These are just the things. So that's outside of my job. Now, inside my job, something that's happening only recently. It never used to happen. We're starting to get opportunities. When Cornet came out, and I'm not using him as a specific example, but it's just kind of the type of things. He blew up in Europe, right? He's originally from Rwanda. He blew up in Europe. When he blew up, all of a sudden, he got a deal with Motown here in the United States. And because he was originally from Rwanda, everybody kept on coming to me at Motown and whatnot. Hey, do you know this guy Cornet? This guy Cornet? But because of my friends who were Rwandese and Burundians and Ugandans, I'd already knew about Cornet. And I became like a point person almost, where the publicists, everyone was like, hey, and this is my first time experiencing this, because we never had people in Rwanda who had any kind of pop culture relevance to the American audience. So, we threw him a party. I don't know, some of the guys came, some people here came, we threw him a party in New York. I invited all my friends from UN and all these places to make him feel and look big. He seemed to kind of appreciate it, but that was the first opportunity. And only because he just happened to be from Rwanda. The opportunities now are coming is BET. This is after I've left. Created a international artist category, right, at the BET Awards. And last year there were a whole lot of Africans who were nominated. It was Davido, Tiwa Savage. It was Davido, Tiwa Savage. It was what was the other guy? Yeah, exactly. All these guys. So again, all of a sudden I was in a position where people needed, what I do is I'm a gatekeeper, I'm a tastemaker, is we say, oh, this is hot. And then people go buy the record. Radio stations start playing the record. People start booking people for shows. All of a sudden, I'm getting questions again. Hey, Tuma, you're from Africa? These guys, I was like, yeah, put them on, let's go, Because they had built enough of an audience, and all of a sudden it was starting to cross over into the United States, right? We haven't had, Stromae is not, he's not a native Rwandan, right? But I mean, he's Rwandese, but he's born in Belgium and identifies probably more with Belgium, we're only starting to get opportunities like Stromae who have crossover appeal here. So at Revolt, we play Stromae, Papa Ute, we play it. It's a year old, it's 1 year old. So we're even making an exception because usually we don't play a song that's 1 year old. But we're playing it right now to give it, to introduce something new. And I think if they didn't have somebody in a position like myself who could co-sign and say, yeah, we need to do this, those opportunities, so the opportunities are coming. Can I say one thing real fast? Is 2006, I was in Rwanda, and MySpace was big. And I spoke on a panel like this, and MySpace was big in the United States. It was not big. High Five was big in Rwanda, but MySpace was big in the US. But what was happening was MySpace was, people were starting to empower themselves. They were starting to make their own videos, put it on YouTube or wherever, embed them onto their MySpace here in the US. And I said that to a bunch of artists in Rwanda. I said, what's stopping you? There's, MySpace, and what next? And at the time, they were talking about internet connection, you know what I mean? Things, but those excuses don't exist anymore. I can go to Bourbon Coffee in Kigali, and the work that I did, the whole world can see it if the whole world wants to see it. So you have to make them want to see it and everything. Yeah, so that's it.
Thanks, Tuma. Yes, I see. Okay, let's take one hand there and then we'll come back to this side. Yes, the gentleman in the back.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to the public here. My name is Jean-Claude Abineza. I'm a Rwandan living in America. I would like to talk about of opportunity we have as America, Rwanda, or America, Africa, because it is a connection to Rwanda. Similarly, it is a connection to Africa, because if somebody sees we as a Rwandan here, we represent Rwanda, and at the same time, we represent Africa. I would like to talk to something like opportunity, international opportunity, which means is not local opportunity, is international or international market. I would like to talk to my friends as students who have been here in America, finish their education and go back to Rwanda and just continue to make a connection with America and Rwanda. But there is a problem always Rwandans we face. We face a problem of language barrier, which means whenever you find a Rwandan with a Nigerian will progress, a Rwandan will be number 2 or number 4 because of language problem. A Rwandan to have a speech of 5 minutes or 20 minutes, it is still a problem. But we want to know how we can increase our language and at the same time American accent, how to connect Rwanda, businessmen here, Rwandan in healthcare, in education, and tourism. We have been started, I and my friend, when I was in India, we started a project with Indian hospitals and African hospitals. I was international coordinator of Indian hospital. But the work I was doing, I was translating, I was doing interpretation for patients from Rwanda to India, which means a patient was coming for treatment, but he doesn't know English. He needs somebody to translate, he needs transportation, he needs somebody to ask, to help him about food we have to get. But patients from Nigeria, patients from South Africa, they came alone and they do everything themselves. But businessmen here, some big men in Rwanda, they need somebody to translate. So how can we increase language? How can we try to fight language barrier for Rwandans so that we can reach international markets? And I'm going to conclude my speech. I would like to address for the public that we have Rwanda, we came here to impress America. We came here to see if American they can invest in Rwanda. But there is something I want to talk about. Americans, they don't want sometimes to invest their money only. They want to invest their knowledge and experience. How can American working in Rwanda get his salary every month and just still working in America? How can we increase international markets in terms of I can sit in America, work in America, and make money in Rwanda officially, and just trying to push and help Rwanda to develop as long as I'm in America. So how Americans can get the opportunity to invest their brain, I mean, how they can invest their experience more than investing their money in different sectors. So we need that connection to see if they can feel free to give their resume to go to international markets, job competitors, if they can have a job and still working around. And there is a job online. You can do it and still stay in America. So that is my question. And I would like to know what do you think in the future as our students in America? Is it possible that as long as they finish their education here, they can take small internship to know American culture, to see if they can learn American English? That's what I'm saying too. Because you can find someone here who has a master's degree. If you put him on the panel there, he cannot talk like 15 minutes. So what can you do, and what do you think in the future gonna help us? Instead of using Kinyarwanda always, we can talk in English something in about 2 hours so that we can communicate each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. I know, Yves, you want to speak to this, and so does Jean Bosco, and then I'll come back to this side. So just a second. Let's get 2 responses here, and we'll come back to you. Go ahead, Yves.
All right, Jean-Claude, I really want to challenge you a little bit here. Do not let the language barrier define your destiny. That's not what defines Rwandans. And I'll give you an example. Myself, when I had an opportunity to come study in the US, I did my high school studies in French, totally in French. One of the criteria...
Where did you do your high school?
I did my high school in Rwanda, in a French school, a Catholic school, a seminary. And up until I had the opportunity to actually come to the US, I don't remember having a conversation of more than 3 minutes in English, right? So I learned about the TOEFL 2 weeks before I had to sit for the TOEFL, which was a criteria to be selected into the presidential scholarship program. So that's not what defines a Rwandan. It's not the language barrier. Do you really know what you want to do in life? Language will not be a barrier. So looking back, just a few years ago, that's when the Rwandan education system switched from French to English. I don't know how long it's been since you're in Rwanda, but on the streets, everywhere you are, if you speak in English, people are going to listen and they're going to respond. And it's a progress. But I just wanted to say that language is not what's going to define the barriers. And I don't think that we need to find some sort of investment into English speaking or presenting. I think as soon as you know what you want to do and you've found your passion and you've answered that question, like, what's my personal contribution, language is not going to be a problem. So thank you.
Thank you. Jean Bosco?
Yes, I want to also to add up another thing to what Jean-Claude was saying. I would like to say that language is not a barrier. I just want to give you an example of myself. Of course, you understand my English is low, but in February, I came here in the United States to compete with guys who were studying here and those Nigerians that you were saying. We competed, but I managed to be in the finalists. And those Nigerians, and the other guys from here in the US were rejected. And I managed to be in the finalist. So language is not a barrier. But as long as you want to be dependent or to depend on somebody, of course you have to learn something so that you can be able to communicate. But if you do something yourself, people will come to see you. And as long as they can come to see you, they will of course have to learn how you do your things. And maybe if you are successful in your Kinyarwanda, or if you can be able to make a social media platform like Facebook in Kinyarwanda, and yet people in Europe won't use Facebook, of course they will try their best to learn Kinyarwanda so that they can use Facebook. So language is not a barrier. It's a matter of what you do, and it's not a matter of English or something else. Because there are some successful entrepreneurs who don't know any word in English or in French, and yet they are becoming successful. So
I actually disagree, and I'll say why. Is we're talking about, I'm actually going back to the soft skills part, right? What you're talking about is technical skills. You're talking about the core competency right next. But in order to get on a bigger scale, to expand, taking care of the language, you know, and you know, some of the things that we're talking about, the soft skills, being able to communicate effectively and competitively will become a factor. It will become a factor. So the people, the entrepreneurs you're talking about who don't speak English, can do well in Kinyarwanda speaking. I don't speak Kinyarwanda. So I may not be able to do well in the agricultural sector in Rwanda because I can't communicate with the stakeholders, the main people that I need to communicate with, right? However, in terms of international business and, you know, and what next, being able to communicate effectively, efficiently, you know, and sometimes artistically, when trying to persuade, when you actually sales. If I'm trying to win you over and you're from Russia and English is our lingua franca, then those English skills do matter. They matter a lot. What next? Yeah. So we're talking about scale, and that should be differentiated so nobody here thinks that, hey, I'm going to stop taking English classes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much for that. The other thing that I want to add on this is that, of course, a language can play something on what you are doing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter that if you don't know to speak English, you can't do something.
No, you can't.
What's the matter is
Okay,
that, for
let's
example,
see.
let's
hear what other people think. Tuma says he can't expand his music business because he can't speak Kinyarwanda. And Jambosco says...
No, I said I can't go into agriculture in Rwanda. I can do anything music. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because,
Jambosco says, I don't need to speak perfect English to run my renewable energy project at 20 years. What do other people think? Let's first get to the ladies right there at the front. I see several hands on the front row. Please move the microphone to them. And we'll come back to you guys.
First of all, I was trying to say that you making...
Can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Moreka Tete Mwanga Chuchu, and we've been sitting here for the past few minutes without actually hear what you say. You keep saying the language. I'm trying to say the Chinese, the other people that comes to Rwanda to invest, actually, they don't speak Kinyarwanda, or they don't even speak English. But they invest in Rwanda. They make even more money without speaking English. So you can go actually further than what you do if you speak any language. You just have to try harder to learn and go as long as you will learn as far as you go. But my question is, why is you keep saying that the Rwandese don't want to go home, they don't want to actually go back and do things? This is what actually it is. Rwandese that's here, they can actually try to invest in their own country, to actually create more jobs for their own children, for their own grandchildren, so at least they will have jobs. Because there's some Rwandese who finish school here, when the time they go to Rwanda, it's actually hard for them to find jobs. So you can't say that all of them has to go home. There's some of them actually here. It's about investing and make your own country a better place. That's all I was trying to say.
Thank you. Somebody else? I think I saw several hands on the front row. But as you make your comment, I think, can I challenge you on 2 words? Find jobs, create jobs. What should we be aspiring for? And Mrekatete or somebody else can pick that up.
Actually,
yes.
more of it is to actually create the jobs. Creating a jobs is not about, there is so many professions here. There is doctors, there is lawyers, there is nurses, and other fields. Actually what you need to do is about investing and create more companies in actually your countries. It's not like if you're here, you can make a change. Creating jobs, it makes how many people have jobs back in Rwanda? So many. You can be one and create 20 jobs back there. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about actually just going home. It's about doing something and make a change. Creating jobs is better than anything.
Thank you. Yes, behind, yes, good. Yes, right behind Mrekatete. Introduce yourself, what you do, and where you're from.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to state first that I'm not 20 years old, but I can relate to this generation. I've always been surrounded by young people through my work as a teacher, that is my background. But currently, I am working for the UN, the mission of Rwanda at the UN, and I'm the deputy to the ambassador. My name is Jeanne d'Arc Biage, and I would like first really to commend our youth here, because I was very much impressed to listen to you, and I think you can actually do my job better than I do it, because you are the real ambassadors of Rwanda. I'm very much impressed because of all the kind of fields you have embraced, which are really very, very useful for our country. The one who was Miss, what's your name again?
Noella? Noella Bigirimana.
Noella, in the healthcare, you know how in Rwanda we have universal health coverage, and your knowledge can actually boost up what Rwanda is doing. And I was impressed also to hear someone interested in environment. Environment is the future, and we are going to create a sustainable future for our country, and that is very, very impressive. But what I wanted to state mainly is the fact that you really, not only you come here to get better knowledge, but you also pay it forward to our people. And the ripple effect that creates is really, really amazing. When you go to Rwanda and you see the youth, even if they have not been exposed to this culture, because of you guys, you pass it on to other generations, and that is what is amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I have to state that. So education, we know that in Rwanda, the enrollment ratio already in elementary, we have more than 98% for girls. And boys, I think it's 95%.
Yes.
Just to tell you that the gender equality in Rwanda, you know, we are doing very well. So all those fields, I'm really, really amazed to see. It's this young, the bright, I mean, the future is bright. You know, when you see that, now I can rest assured, even if I'm not your generation, I know that there will be someone to take over when we are no longer. So that is really something commendable. Lastly, I just wish to really to praise you to continue this legacy so that we can pass it on to the future generation. And that is what I'll go back to what our president always says, you have to dream big, think big, because the future is bright. Thank you very much. No question. Everything is clear.
Thank you. Let's remain on that side for a second. I think I see another hand at the front, and then we'll get to you at the back. Yes.
Hi, my name is Claudius Johannes. I'm originally from Ethiopia. Actually, on my way here, somebody asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Rwanda Day. I thought you were Ethiopian. I said, don't you know Rwandans are my brothers too? So, but beside the history lesson, There are a few questions. Like I said, my name is Claudius. I'm a development consultant, a filmmaker, and a human rights activist. What I do is, through my film skill, I use film to educate the public, increase awareness, and encourage or motivate Africans into development efforts in Africa and in their community here in the States. But there is something that throughout my research for the film, and there's a lot of things that we're missing out. What's our objective? Here you go, you're coming from Rwanda, Ethiopia, Kenya, I see it all the community. There is energy and movement everywhere I go. But the problem is why are we doing what we're doing? To develop the country, to eradicate poverty or disease, what else we're doing? Our objective is not clear or specific enough first. In terms of investment, the same thing, education, healthcare. In Africa, there is all similarities in terms of socioeconomic needs, in health, education, economic development, utilization of the diaspora in the development. There is a huge capacity to turn the diaspora, the brain drain into brain gain. The priority is not there enough. For instance, if as a doctor, if I go to Africa and they don't even have X-ray machines, gloves and everything, how effective can they be? So what I'm trying to do is, why don't we first build the capacity, the existing health, education, and other sectors, build their capacity first before inspiring others to go back. So through organization, we can have power. One of the things we can use is Africans have the biggest capacity here in terms of remittances. According to the World Bank, $60 billion last year. That's through the bank. Total $120 billion. The highest educated community in the States. It's not that we don't have the capacity. We're not collective. We're not organized. Specific agendas, plan we don't have. So how do we, even as big international organizations, the biggest problem they have is implementing. Through the network and whatever we have, how can we implement this program? So don't we have to prioritize first what first comes first, instead of saying we need to do this, we need to do that, build the capacity of the framework that we needed to be more effective. So it's just a question, I guess, is which is our priority, why and how we're going to do it, how we can partner to do this. Because at the end, we need to be effective. It's not what we do. There are 2.5 million NGOs in the United States doing similar programs, duplicated programs. Why is still Africa poor?
Thank you very much, Claudius. Unless somebody on the panel wants to say something, I can very quickly make a comment. In Rwanda, we know the objective. Earlier, I spoke about skills development plan that is aligned to our economic development strategy. So we know, for example, how many doctors, how many engineers, how many pilots we need in a certain period of time. And when we invest heavily in education, it is for a specific target. And this is information that is coordinated under what we call our National Capacity Building Secretariat. So it is aligned to our development agenda. And we can have this discussion later on, but the information is available on the government information system. But let's get the gentleman in the back, and then we'll soon be coming to the end of this panel. So let's get that gentleman, the one in the back, and the lady, and then we'll get to the closing. Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you very much. My name is Brandon Kabagambe. I'm a Bridge Rwanda scholar, and I go to Morehouse College. I have some couple of comments on what was going on over here, like some questions. One is about language. I don't believe that if you don't speak the language, you won't progress. Do it good, like somebody will come and look for you. If you do the thing good, I'll come looking for you. It doesn't matter if you speak Kinyarwanda. A Russian will come to look for your skills. One of our fellows talked about having so many expatriates in Rwanda, and how is that going to be reduced. Like, I would say, when you look at the education system of Rwandans, so many scholars, including me, are coming to the US or to other countries to get the education. Trust me, after like 5 to 10 years after our graduation, you won't get that big expatriates in our country. Like, but we still need them. Like, they help us get those skills. They help us learn something from them. So you know that they're actually earning income, but providing us with the skills. We believe that they have something beyond our capacity of understanding. But still, there will be time like we occupy the position that they're occupying right now.
Brandon, I'm going to have to stop you. I think you make a very good point. There are challenges today, but there are processes to bridge the gaps, and that's precisely why you and others are taking the train that you're taking today. Let's quickly come back to this side, and then we'll get to the closing. Yes, the gentleman towards the back. Towards the back, yes, there are two hands next to each other.
Thank you so much first. I would like to thank you so much for this purpose today. It's a chance for the Rwandese people live here in America. All the African people, they don't get the chance to get this opportunity. So about the investment out some barrier, I want to say this. If you have the purpose to do something, you don't have to speak any language. Because if the Americans come to Africa to make investment, they don't know Kinyarwanda, but they can get something they need. So what I want to tell the youngest is to look and to make project in a big frame. And I think one person cannot do anything. But if you make like association or anything, you can think what you can do in Africa, in our home.
If you build networks.
Yeah, and I want to tell the Rwandese people, in Africa, that is the good place to make investment. Here in America, or Europe, you cannot make investment easy as Africa. If you come back to Africa, you can get everything you need, because here is not easy to start. But in Africa, it's a good place to make investment. You can grow fast. Thank you so much.
And you can open a company in Rwanda in just 6 hours, and it's registered, and you're ready to roll.
For me, I have a small company in Rwanda. I live here 2 years, but when I go back, I have to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, you. We'll come back in the closing. Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Nancy Wera. I am so proud to be called a Rwandan. I am in college right now. I'm doing social work. And I've been following the conversation, and it's really moving, and it's very, very motivating. I just have one question. Here we go to school and we are gaining knowledge, and it's very, very important to go home and try to teach others in order for them to gain knowledge as well. But sometimes we don't even know where to go. When you go there and you're on holidays, you feel like you want to do some volunteer work and try to teach others in so many ways, socializing with people and try to teach them. But we don't see those opportunities. We don't see those doors being open for us. It would be very, very good for us to know where to go when we are on holidays, to go and try to find places where there, volunteer work, and try to teach, our sisters or young sisters or brothers in order for them to prepare the bright future as well. Like you said, we are here to kind of, think about our country and try to make some investment in our countries, because we love our country and we love to go there and make the change, change the lives of our young sisters and brothers. So I would love to know where I can have that opportunity to go and try to volunteer and teach others. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I think the spirit is don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, and somebody on the panel will respond to that. But let's come to the front, and this will be the last comment or question, and then the panelists will have 2 minutes each to wrap up. Did you change your mind? Where? Okay, let's let the lady go. It's okay.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry about my voice. I'm a little bit sick. My name is Micheline Salamer, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am I want to just make a comment about the language. I would like just to mention that I disagree with some of the comments I hear about the language is not important. I think this forum is about business, trade, international trade, and we all know how English is the language of business currently. It's not easy for some businessmen, Rwandan, want to have partnership with American businessmen without a language. They will have to depend on translators. And dependency is not something you want as Rwandan to continue to continue to be dependent. I want to just applaud really, and I'm so proud of Mzee John Nyumbahire, who is able to speak in English. He learned English I don't think at his early age, but if he's able to speak and make a comment in this forum in English, it's something encouraging for other businessmen who are in Rwanda, who do not have English language. They may be able to, they speak French, but if they can add English, because English is very important. When they go to Dubai, they will not be dependent. They will not have to wait or go to India. They will not wait for interpreters to be there. I come in this country with no English. I know how it's hard when you have to depend on interpreters. So please, language is a plus, no matter anything. My dad used to tell me, if you can learn, there is nothing wrong to learn anything. I was actually very pleased with the idea when some Rwandans went to China to learn Chinese. That's what we need, not only the new generation. We can have even our elderly who did not go to English classes to have continuing classes in the evening to teach them English so they can be competitive in the meetings with other investors. That's my comment, and I was so pleased with the last lady comment. I forgot her name, but she mentioned about volunteerism in Rwanda. I think it's a great idea that I support. I just came from Rwanda this few months ago. Very impressive. There are so many things to do, so many good things that happen, but we need really to have our youth, people who live abroad, all of us, the experience we get here, go teach our people what to do to compete in this world, especially in the customer service area. We all know we need to really do something about it. Thank you. That's my comment. I don't have a question.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you bear with us. Time is running out, so I'm going to come back to the panel and just spend 2 minutes, respond to any questions that you think went unanswered, and you have something to say. And again, remember, this is about employment, challenges, opportunities towards self-reliance, what you can do to make a difference, what you're doing to make a difference, and just take it from there, Tuma. first.
Yeah, no, she said a lot of what I really wanted to say because of, there were a few people who were talking about you don't need language, so I felt like what I was saying was not understood. She was talking about English being the business of language. In terms of building your network, building relationships, avoiding miscommunications in negotiation, et cetera, those are the things that they don't limit your opportunities, you know what I mean? So they help you advance in your career. You can do entrepreneurship on a global scale, et cetera, et cetera. It's like a transportation. It just gets you there. It's not the actual product itself. It's not you knowing English or French if you're doing business in Francophone countries. It's the ability to reach and whatnot. So that's what she said. Most of what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to clear that up just in case anyone thought I was being. Go ahead. Sue.
Yes, Jean Bosco.
Thank you very much. I cannot go without commenting again on language, but a few things about language is that what I can say is that, first of all, there is no guarantee that you can achieve many things when you know English, but it's also an addition. If you know English, of course, you are exposed to international opportunity of doing your business or getting a job abroad or somewhere you want. In fact, there is no limit for your international exposure, but it is not a guarantee that you can make something because you know English. So what we have to do is to make sure that we are creating jobs in terms of using the skills that we have to try to create companies, NGOs, and the other thing which can benefit our society. Another thing that I want to highlight in Rwanda is that we are having opportunities in Rwanda. For example, if we want to run a company in Rwanda, there are some NGOs, some of them are run by Americans, like Inkomoko Business Development. There you can go and meet with those Americans. Whether you are a Rwandan, they have some translators, but of course if you know the English, it is better because you get in touch with them directly, but they can help you to make sure that you are running your company and they give you some managerial skills that we want. And another thing is that we have other organizations, some government institutions like WDA to build your skills. Another thing that you want to make sure that you are doing something in Rwanda. So what you have to do first of all is to think critically and think what you can do when you go back in Rwanda. And of course, English will be the main thing for you, but don't focus on that English if you don't know it. There are other things that you can do when you don't know English. For example, when I started my company, I was the public relations officer, I was the managing director, I was the technical advisor. In fact, I was everything in my company. But finally, I found that it is better to share responsibilities. If I don't know English, I can hire someone who can come in my company and help me to be connected to that international exposure. It doesn't matter that to do something means that you know everything. There are a network of people who can come and help you to run everything you want for your company. Thank you very much. That's
Thank you. Noela? Yes.
Yes. I'll just add a few closing remarks. I know this forum is centered around the youth, but I want to highlight the people in the room that have paved the way for the youth to be here and to be doing what they're doing, the people that are challenging us, the people that are mentoring us. And I want to encourage you, whether you're Rwandan, whether you're a friend of Rwanda, don't let it, help us get there. We're getting there, we're motivated, but as you're paving the way, do not let us get comfortable. Keep pushing us. Don't be, don't let us keep that statu quo. Say, well, yeah, you're amazing, right? You're 20 years old, you have your company. What else could you do? You could do more. You could do more. You could keep going. Something like that. So we need mentors, and I'm looking at the audience today to kind of encourage you to encourage us, if that makes sense. And the other part, I think, has to do with I know one of the things that we mentioned was people, you know, as you're part of, many of you in the audience are part of the diaspora. You're youth in the diaspora, and you're thinking, okay, well, if I go back, what am I going to do? I was at that same stage when I finished college. You have questions, you haven't figured out all the details. But I want to challenge you to look at it a different way. Don't look at it as or taking risks. Look at it as actually an opportunity. Look at it as look at the impact that you would have. I wouldn't say forget about the financial part, but you know, make that a second to the impact you can have. Because when I finished college, I accepted an internship, which turned later into the job responsibility I have now. But at that time, I wasn't looking at the financial part necessarily. I was looking at the impact, because nowhere else would I have had the opportunity to be part of such a big, you know, I was interested, I would volunteer in hospitals, but nowhere else would I have that unique opportunity to be part of a large program that is actually building a hospital. And that's actually has impacted even now as I'm studying something related to what I'll be doing. So I'll be part of that project. A last closing remark, which might polarize, and I apologize, but I want to speak to young women in the audience. Again, I go back to the statu quo. Do not accept that as your only identity. You know, keep pushing yourself. Do not let people tell you what you can or can't do, because I think, and here's the part where the audience might, I think that you are the backbone of Rwanda. You really are. What you're doing it for your country, for your future or current families, and that's something that you have to look at and sort of challenge yourself. And I mentioned that because I'm the only woman on the panel, but I'm sure if there was, you know, they would agree that you are, you know, we're future mothers of Rwanda. So let's look at it that way. Whether in Rwanda, whether in the US, it does not matter. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I want to first make a few comments on some of the topics that kept coming back from the audience. Starting with the comment that Murekatete made on creating jobs, and what is it really the role of the diaspora? I don't think the message you are giving today is that everyone should book a flight right now and head back to Rwanda. That's not what we are saying. I think looking at the remittance that has increased over the last few years is a testimony that the diaspora, where you are today here in the US or across the world, you are investing in Rwanda, and that's great. And I think we should encourage that as more as we can. But what we are saying today is that if you haven't done that part of investing, or if you have done that and you want to do it on another level, you are welcome to come in Rwanda, and you will see that the impact will multiply tremendously. So I want to just clarify on that. It's important that whatever you do, wherever you are just carrying the Rwandan flag. And that's what matters. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, if you keep that in mind, your contribution is definitely going to help the country. Nancy Uwela asked about how do we get to know about opportunities, and you talked about volunteering. So specifically for this Rwanda Day, there is a database that is being built for the Rwandans in the diaspora to be able to learn about opportunities available in Rwanda. So if you can look at www.rwandajobday.com. There is a way they ask you to upload some information as students or young professionals in the diaspora. And Job in Rwanda, who are in the exhibition and the career fair, will take on keeping in touch and updating people in the diaspora. So that's one of the platform you can use. But again, it's a challenge to everyone in the audience being able to communicate and have more coordination in terms of opportunities available for someone who's in the diaspora. Another clarification I wanted to make in regards to the language. I think language is important. We should always improve and learn more languages, as many as we can. But let's not let the language be an excuse to why we did not achieve something. because language is a tool, just like any other skills can be a tool to achieve something. If you really know what you want to achieve, learn that language and use it to achieve what you want to do. So I don't want to feel like we are taking that as an excuse to why we are not seeing development. In fact, it's actually the opposite. I think there has been tremendous improvement. I think closing what I would say, I think 2 points. This conversation really revolves at the theme of this Rwanda Day, which is Agaciro, our choice. Twahisemo. It's really challenging each one of us to think and answer this question. What is it your choice you are making right now, or that you have made already, to contribute to the development of our country? And when you answer that question, what was your choice? I think that's when you know what is your part moving forward. A second point I wanted to say, I'll end with this quote. Good is enemy of great. We end up settling into our comfort zone because life just feels good. But that's tricky because when you end up settling into a certain level because we feel it's good, we are missing a point. Rwanda has gone at a certain stage from 20 years ago up to now, but we can't just stop here. I think there is more to be done, and I don't think we can just say that it's the end. I think we need to look at greater things that can be done and build networks that allow to do that. Lastly, I want to say that it really depends on the satisfaction of everyone in where they are in the work they are doing. So if you are motivated or satisfied by making much money, focus on that and make as much money as you can. By the time you know, you realize you have made impact. But if you want to give back also, and that's what brings satisfaction, feel free to go back or stay in the diaspora, but give back as much as you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yves. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come towards the end of this session, I just wanted to remind that this panel was supposed to discuss youth employment challenges in Rwanda and building networks for success. Several things came out from the discussions, and I want to thank you all for your role. But I want to highlight a few things that characterize the panel members and many other people in the room. And this is actually what I hope people go away with. Number one is that the ground in Rwanda has been leveled. Some people have worked very hard to make sure that Rwanda is what it is today. So the youth, wherever they are, those in the room and other places, have set out to acquire critical skills to play their part. They have developed a mentality for success, not just for Rwanda's success, but global success. They have set out to achieve very high results. They have taken full advantage of the opportunities to study, as you had here, to become job creators. They set out to build an image, the mirror of Rwanda, built on the real values of Rwandans, not only to make use of that themselves, but also to make it known to other people. They looked out for opportunities, as you had. They took pride in local institutions. And most importantly, they realized that if they don't play their part in building their nation, nobody's going to do it for them,